It's so critical that we're healthy as entrepreneurs. It's also important that we're sharp as our entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
that we're able to, deal with tasks as well as possible. And that it does stem from your gut because there's communication going on back and forth.
One of the fastest paths to success is having high, vibrant energy. And that means you got to feel healthy and you got to be healthy. So today on the Thrive by Design podcast, I am having a very special guest from Just Thrive to talk a little bit more about gut health, brain health, energy, and how to thrive as a jewelry and product business owner. Hey there, I'm Tracy Matthews. I'm the Chief Visionary Officer of Flourish and Thrive Academy and the host of the Thrive by Design podcast. I support and help jewelry business owners launch, grow, and scale 5, 6, and 7-figure businesses using my methodology called the Desire Brand Effect. And today on the show, I have my dear friend, Tina Anderson. She is the CEO of Just Thrive, a probiotic company that has literally changed my life. And I've been talking to Tina for years about getting her on this show to talk a little bit more about gut health and peak performance and brain health so that you can focus a little bit better. We'll dive into the episode in just a moment. But before I do, I wanted to make sure that if you haven't done so yet, that you have subscribed to our channel, that you click that little notification bell so that you're notified anytime we release a new episode. All right, let's dive into this episode with Tina Anderson of Just Thrive. All right, I am so excited to be here today with my dear friend, Tina Anderson of Just Thrive, not to be confused with Thrive by Design or Flourish and Thrive Academy. Tina and I know each other through a business group, and we go hiking all the time together when she's here in Arizona. So I just want to welcome Tina to the show.
Oh, thanks, Tracy. I'm so excited to be here with you. This is so fun.
This is so fun. So we've been talking about this forever. So I'm going to give them a little backstory about how we know each other through a group that we're in called Baby Bathwater. Tina and I met on my first event in Croatia. And not to be too graphic, but I was having some serious stomach issues. And someone's like, you need to go talk to Tina. And you handed me a bottle of like a teeny little travel bottle of Just Thrive probiotics. And within 2 days, my IBS was completely cured. And I felt so much better. And if anyone's ever been traveling and had like gut or issues with their stomach, like, how awful that is because you're like, I'm not at home. And like, there's these gross bathrooms and like all this stuff. And you're just like, so, upon further investigation for myself and learning more about gut health, I realized that gut health has a lot to do with your brain and focus and feeling good and so much else. So I wanted Tina to come on the show. We started talking about this in 2020 when Tina was traveling to Fountain Hills to get out of Chicago for a while. And we would have these long talks and she's like, yeah, I'll get on the podcast. And then she comes to town all the time and we go for hikes. I'm like, I need you to get on the podcast. And so 4 years later, she's on the podcast.
Hey, better late than never.
I know, totally. So Tina, why don't you give us a little bit of background in your history and where you come from and why you're so passionate about health? Because that's really why I want you here.
Yeah, so I have a very interesting background. I started my career in the legal world. So I'm an attorney and I was in litigation for many years. And after kind of being, working crazy hours and not feeling really satisfied in my career, I decided to go into a family pharmaceutical business, which was great because I had great work life balance. I started having kids of my own. And I thought this was wonderful because I'm like, I'm delivering life saving medications to people and I'm helping people feel better. But after being in the pharmaceutical industry for a while, I started to see a lot of the abuses in the industry. I started to see the overprescribing of medication. You started to see pharmaceutical companies kind of encouraging doctors to prescribe medicines when maybe they weren't necessary. And we saw that I was in the business with my husband Billy, who you know also very well, and Billy and I
Yes.
were like kind of disgusted by what we were seeing. And
Mhm.
we read a lot of Wayne Dyer, Norman Vincent Peale. We're pretty deep thinkers. And every message that was being sent to us was, you are not doing your life's work. We just wanted to get into something that was more impactful. And, there's a place for pharmaceuticals. I don't ever dispute that. I mean, for emergency type of medicine
Mhm.
or acute type of situations, there is a place for pharmaceuticals. But there really isn't a focus on prevention or maintenance of health. And so that's what we wanted to get into, and in more of a natural way, because we were very naturally minded ourselves with our
Mhm.
3 children. We didn't, we would kind of let them like fight their fever for, or let their fever run its course to help
Mhm.
fight its own infection. And so we, delved into research, and we were, being at the right place at the right time, a lot of prayer, meditation. We were able to license these very, very unique strains, a totally different category of probiotics, and why it works so well for you when we were in Croatia,
Yeah.
because they are very unique and different. And from there, Just Thrive was born.
I mean, they're remarkable. So if anyone takes probiotics and you're not getting a great result, like definitely check these out. We're gonna talk about how to get them a little bit later, or even just look into getting any type of probiotic because it will change your life in such a positive way. Tina, I have a question for you. Have you seen the movie Pain Pushers yet?
I have not. No,
Oh
I have
my
not.
gosh,
And I
you
should, because it's like right up my alley. Right.
You have to watch it. Like it's so crazy. I don't even know why I watched it. I can't remember. I think Jason and I were just sitting around one Saturday night and I was like, let's watch a movie. And so this is all about how drugs are overprescribed. And I feel like it's maybe like an inflated version of what happens, but how all these pain medications were prescribed and they're all laced with fentanyl and how it was killing people. It's just insane. And it was like a slow burn. So anyway, I
Yeah.
don't want to like ruin the story, but I feel like that's
Yeah, it's something we have to be mindful of, for sure. And I mean, those are prescriptions that have really horrible side effects and,
yes.
life-changing, altering type of devastating results. But I mean, a lot of these other pharmaceuticals that are out there are actually causing issues. They're just a slower burn, they're
Yeah,
not as
exactly.
immediate. So something to keep in mind. And again,
Well,
there's a place for them, but not
yeah, and
chronic.
I feel like most people who are naturally minded want to help people like live a natural life, like eat whole foods, be healthy, use things that are naturally occurring, and like support your system in the best way that you possibly can, so that you have. I'm just learning a lot about this because I've been doing a lot of research lately. So you can have stronger mitochondria and your recovery can be a lot faster. So I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know that much about this, but I know you know a lot about it. So I want to ask you some scientific questions. And first and foremost, like what is the gut brain connection and why is that so important? And how do probiotics help that?
Sure. Yeah. The gut, we have for so long have been associating gut issues with like gas and bloating and
Yeah.
diarrhea and constipation. And those are absolutely reasons why, there's signs that you have some gut
Mhm.
imbalance going on. But what we're now starting to understand, and you're hearing a lot more about this, is there is this huge gut brain connection.
Yeah.
So in our gut, all of these important neurotransmitters are being produced. So serotonin, which is our happy
Mhm.
hormone, dopamine is being produced in our gut. But the serotonin, let me go back, 90% of our serotonin is actually produced in our gut. So that's our happy hormone.
Wow.
Dopamine is being produced in our gut. GABA, which is our calming hormone, is produced in our gut. So all these really, really critical neurotransmitters are being produced in our gut, where for so long we're thinking the majority of them are being produced in our
Mhm.
brain, but they're really being produced in our gut. So it's critical to be taking care of your gut health in order to be taking care of your mood health, your mental health, and support your brain. And there's something called the vagus nerve, and the vagus
Mhm.
nerve is, I like to call it the communication superhighway. And that vagus nerve connects from your brainstem down to your intestines. And there's messages being sent back and forth to each other all the time. And it sounds so crazy, but think about it. Like when you were excited about something, what happens? Like we get butterflies in our
Yeah.
stomach, or we're nervous about something and we have to go to the bathroom more often. So it's like
That's so true. Or you're
I
like,
know.
or you something triggers you and you go into fight or flight and you're like, what's going on? And I'm like completely anxious, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's your gut and your brain talking back and forth to each other. That's why I have always been telling people, if someone has gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, do things in addition to like supporting it with supplements and things like that. Do meditation, do deep breathing, because the calmer you are, your gut will be sending signals back up to your brain. And then the reverse is true. The brain sends signals down to your gut. So it's a two-way street, and you have to support it as best as possible.
Obviously, like just based on your explanation, the gut is supporting our brain health. But like why is continually creating a better, environment for our gut and our brain to communicate with each other going to help us as a business owner?
Yeah, well, For one, 80% of our immune system is found in our gut. We don't want to be getting sick all the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, business owners, entrepreneurs, we are burning the candle at both ends. I mean, we are busy, we're not sleeping as best as we should. And so we want to keep our immune system as strong as possible. So, it's great to take vitamin C, vitamin D, all these other great nutrients that we're missing in, our food supply, but those nutrients are not being absorbed unless our gut is healthy. Because if our gut is not healthy, it's inflamed. And if we have an unhealthy gut, we aren't absorbing those nutrients. And therefore, we're depleting our immune system. And our immune system isn't functioning as properly. In fact, if our gut is not healthy and it's not a diverse, healthy, lush microbiome, we are not able to send those signals, our immune cell signals that there's a pathogen there. So it's so critical that we're healthy as entrepreneurs. It's also important that we're sharp as our entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
that we're able to, deal with tasks as well as possible. And that it does stem from your gut because there's communication going on back and forth.
Okay, so I want to come back to two things. Number one, brain fog. I want you to explain what this is and like how a healthy gut can like cure that. Because I did a whole candida cleanse, like, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago. And I didn't realize how like my unhealthy gut at the time was affecting like pretty much everything. Like my eyes got really white. Like I don't know, my mind was much more clear. It was easier to focus, like all these things. So let's talk a little bit about brain fog. And then how do you know if your gut is unhealthy?
Yeah, well, the brain fog is the same thing we're talking about. It's like if we're the minute you start getting rid of that overgrowth of the candida, candida is a natural part of our gut flora. It's meant to be there. It's just the overgrowth that starts to
Hmm.
become problematic. And when you have that overgrowth, now it's messing up your neurotransmitters, and then
Yeah.
those signals are going back up to your gut. And this is why we experience brain fog. It's one of the reasons why we experience brain fog. We know that, just to kind of go back up, we are
Yeah.
10 times more bacteria than we are human. So we have
Wow.
more bacterial cells living in and on us than we do human cells. And yet we live in this incredibly antibacterial world. So we have antibacterial hand soaps,
Oh, yeah.
antibacterial hand sanitizers. We have bleach products, all these things that are just killing bacteria on us. And yet it's our bacteria that's not only important, it's critical to our overall health. And so we're living in this world that's so disruptive to our overall health. It's something that we have to be mindful of. So unfortunately, they're estimating that like 80% of the adult population, if not more, has a leaky gut and doesn't know it. And I don't need to go off onto a rabbit hole with leaky gut, but
No, I
basically,
want to hear about this because I think I
okay,
might have one.
okay. Well, I think
Just
a
for
lot
me,
of people,
Tina. This is all
yes,
about me. Just
okay,
kidding.
fair enough, fair enough. I mean, the people will always say, how do I test to see if I have a leaky gut? Well, there are no commercial tests available. We did a double blind human clinical trial on leaky gut. And what we found is that 80% or 55% of the college students that we tested had a leaky gut and didn't know it. These were healthy college students. They had no, health conditions. They weren't on any medication. They were healthy kids. So they thought. But slowly what happens is your intestinal lining starts to leak. It starts to develop holes. And when you
Wow.
have those holes, toxins that are in your gut that really aren't problematic start to slowly seep into your bloodstream. And then your immune system starts to see this as an invader and starts to, create like a
Attack your
response
body.
to it. So
Yeah.
people who have an autoimmune issue of any sort, they pretty much have a leaky gut. We know that. But like most people out there really are suffering with some degree of leakiness of the gut. And it's like a drippy faucet. And that's what the study told us. It's like a drippy faucet. Like you have this leaky gut and, it's a drip here and a drip there and a drip there, and nothing's a problem. And then one day, the sink overflows, and that's what happened. One day you develop an allergy, one day you develop heart disease, one day you develop, you know anxiety or depression. All of these, with this inflammation starts to, your immune system creates this inflammatory response, and that inflammation starts to go to other organs in your body, and all of a sudden you develop disease. And so I would argue that it's hard to find anybody that could not benefit without of taking care of your gut. We need to be supporting our gut health because it is so critical. It's hard to find any disease out there that's not associated with some type of gut imbalance, from heart disease to liver issues to brain health to the more obvious like autoimmune issues and gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, heartburn, those types of things. All of those types of conditions are associated with an imbalance in your gut. And yet everything we're doing in this world, from antibiotics that we take, antibiotics that are in our food supply, very disruptive to our gut health.
Roundup.
Glyphosate, yep, yep, yeah, we're on the same page. Glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup, sprayed all over our produce. It's all over. It's in our rainwater. So disruptive to our gut health. So, and Roundup, I would argue, is actually worse than antibiotics because Roundup in our gut only targets the beneficial bacteria. So it's only killing off the good bacteria in our gut. Where antibiotics, I mean, it's bad that they kill off the good bacteria, but at least they're killing off the
Yeah.
pathogenic bacteria that's
Mhm.
going on. But antibiotics are so bad for us. Of course, again, they save lives. There are times we need them, but they are overprescribed, and we know that, and they are just so disruptive to our gut health. Stress is another disruptor to our gut health. So we're unfortunately living in this world that's just so disruptive to our gut health. So and our gut is so important to us. It's helping us absorb nutrients. It's helping us support our immune system. I mean, there's so many benefits of having a healthy gut. And unfortunately, like I said, we're living in a world that's so disruptive to it.
I know it's so crazy. Now I'm like thinking back, I'm like, oh, maybe that was from leaky gut. Like
Yeah.
whatever. So I
Yeah.
know
Well,
I just want to dumb this down a little bit for people who may not understand like what you mean by inflammation. So what is an inflammatory response or like inflammation in the body? Like what would that present as? Maybe that's the
yeah.
best way to put
Well,
it.
that's the hard thing, is that it doesn't always present right away. So it's
Yeah.
basically, if you have these toxins in your gut, they're called LPS toxins, but even if it could be a food particle. Let's say you're eating spinach and you're like thinking, I'm doing such a great job, I'm eating spinach. And then you have a leaky gut. Food particles could seep into your bloodstream. Well, food
That
particles
is
shouldn't.
crazy.
Yes, it's crazy, and they should not be in our bloodstream. So when our immune system sees that there's some particle in our bloodstream that's not there, it creates this inflammatory response because it's trying to get rid of it. It's like, why? It's an invader in our blood system, in our, circulatory system. And then it starts to, create this inflammatory response, and it's just this chronic inflammation. When you have a leaky gut, whatever, this toxins could seep in your bloodstream, food particles could seep into your bloodstream, and now you have this constant chronic inflammatory response that's, could be attacking any number of your organs. And so we really need to seal up that gut lining. That is what's so key. And that's one of the reasons why we started with doing a leaky gut study. I mean, I don't know of any pharmaceutical, I don't know of any supplement company out there that's done a double-blind human clinical trial on leakiness of the gut. It's actually called metabolic endotoxemia. And we've done a double-blind human clinical trial showing that these strains that are used in our product actually help seal up that leakiness of the gut.
Okay, so question for you, like if food particles get in your, I mean, you might have maybe kind of answered this, but like how do you get them out?
Well, you have to seal up. I mean, you have to
You just
seal
seal
up
up the gut? Like are they just like in your blood forever? Because like how do they cycle out? They just go back out of the bloodstream or
eventually they will
no.
circulate. I'm not entirely sure what that process looks like, but yeah, I would eventually they would circulate out.
Now I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole trying to figure out what happens.
Yeah. Fair enough. Oh.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so inflammation bad, immune response bad. Like we are trying to prevent all of those things. So if you outside of obviously taking Just Thrive probiotics, which are incredible, I highly recommend them, you guys. I've been taking them for years. I used to have really, sorry, this is really TMI and like not something that everyone needs to know, but I'm just gonna say it. I used to have really bad IBS, and it's not a thing anymore at all. And for anyone who's ever suffered with that, like you know what that's about. So since I started taking these probiotics, it's changed everything. Anytime I forget to take them and I get like an eczema flare up, I just start taking them again. It seems to go away. They're really, really good products. But for people who maybe are wondering if they have maybe a leaky gut or they're experiencing some inflammation or they're having brain fog or all these things outside of just taking the probiotic? What are some other things that they can do to start healing their gut?
Yeah, great question. And I would like to preface what you thank you for sharing that story. I would like to preface you lead a very healthy lifestyle, and that is a huge factor in it. Don't ever I could never say that Just Thrive cures IBS or cures eczema or anything like that, of course, for FDA purposes. But we are there, we're a supplement to supplement a healthy diet. And so
Yes,
and all of that. But we
I
do
do. I
know
am
that
pretty healthy.
yes, you are. You're very healthy, and that is a huge factor. And that's why I mean one of the biggest things I say is just avoiding antibiotics. So antibiotics that are in our food supply. That's a really really important thing. Avoiding trying to eat organic as much as possible. And I know that's hard, but there are ways to eat organic more often than not that are on even on a budget. I mean, there are you get frozen vegetables, there's cans of organic beans. I mean, there's things that you could do
Mhm.
on a budget to try to eat organic. I also recommend people eating a diverse group of foods. We live
Mhm.
in this society now where like you're vegan, you're paleo, you're carnivore. We've
Yeah.
all gotten into these little like subgroups of how we eat, but our ancestors used to eat like 600 different types of foods a year, and we eat like on average the average American eats about 15 different types of foods a year. I mean, we're creatures of habit and we stick to the same food. So creating a diverse microbiome is really really important. And by eating, even going to like ethnic grocery stores and finding different types of foods, that's another way to create some diversity, to get some different roots and tubers into your body, into your system. Also, meditation, avoiding, trying to minimize stress. That's also really important. I'm trying to, intermittent fasting. I'm a huge fan of intermittent fasting. I also think intermittent fasting is an individual thing. I don't think it always works for people. So I don't want anyone to like beat themselves up, especially women who are maybe menopausal or have some hormonal issues. But I do think that intermittent fasting, we know that in the fasted state, our bacteria actually proliferate in the presence. Our beneficial bacteria will actually proliferate in the presence of or in the fasted state. So it seems a little
Can you
counterintuitive,
can
but
I just stop you there? For people who are new to understanding what intermittent fasting is, can you explain what that is? Because it's not like fasting for a week.
right. Oh, no, no, no. Yes, I know. It's basically, you could choose whatever window. I usually go like 12-hour eating window. Do I do a 12-hour eating or 16 hours of not eating? Sorry, I think that's what I do. I usually go like 6 p.m. until about noon. So that's a little bit, yeah, that's about 16 hours or so. So it's just not eating during those hours and just allows when you are in that fasted state, it's doing all kinds of wonderful things like creating autophagy, getting rid of and helping our bacteria in our gut actually proliferate and be more
Flourish and thrive.
flourish and
Just
thrive.
thrive. Just
Fl-
thrive. Just kidding.
That's right. That's right. I love it. Oh, I love it. We're going to play on the word here.
I know, forever. Okay, so we've talked about healing gut and all those things. What are some other things that you think are important to like continue to contribute to a healthy lifestyle, which then obviously exercise, right? That's super
Yes.
important, moving your body, because like the more your blood moves, the more your blood cleans, right? And how does that
Yep.
affect the gut?
Yeah, no, exercise is huge. Well, for one, we know exercise. I mean, you go for a walk, run, it increase like you're like adrenaline is going and it's like you're in a happier mood and
Yeah.
like then now those signals are going back to your gut. So there's so many benefits of exercise. I also recommend people trying to be prescriptive about going out in nature, taking
Yeah.
a walk in nature. I mean, I know it's great. Like when we go on our walks in Arizona, it's
So
like
good.
they're not really when we do our hikes, they're good. You're in
Yeah.
nature, you're like up there. But if you live near an ocean, get to the ocean. If you live near a forest, walk through the forest. But trying to really get in nature, you're getting different microbes, but especially the ocean, you've got lots of different microbes. So it's going to create more of that diversity. So I would definitely recommend, trying to eat clean, not overeat, which, we're all guilty of once in a while. Avoid sugar. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but
I know.
also give yourself grace along the way. I mean, nobody is, we can't beat ourselves up. The worst thing I think we could do is be so restrictive that we start freaking out about every time we do something wrong or we eat something bad. That's just so counterproductive to health and it's not good for our mental health. So just giving yourself grace along the way and taking baby steps, introduce some new, modality to help you as you're on your health journey. But it's so important as an entrepreneur and a business owner just to really prioritize your health. I mean, it is your wealth. You're working really hard to create personal wealth, and yet if you're not healthy, you're not wealthy. I mean, it's so cliche, but it's just so true. And we have such a hard time doing that as entrepreneurs. Prioritize sleep, prioritize healthy eating, prioritize exercise, prioritize play. We've got to have fun in life, and just remind yourself of that. I can't stress that enough.
That's so true. So, Tina, you're busy. You're really busy. Like, how do you make time for all the things? Like, to meditate, to be healthy, to go on the long walks and like take care of your health. And by the way, I've learned so much new stuff because I didn't realize like going for a hike is going to give you healing
Yeah.
microbes.
Yeah. It's a diverse group of microbes when you're in nature. Exactly.
That's so cool. How do you make time for all this?
Yeah, well, I speak so passionately about this from experience because I didn't when I first started this business. I
Mhm.
had at the time my kids were in high school and middle school, and I mean, they all played sports, and I was running around. I had my laptop in tow, and I did not do it right when I started, but I've learned that, and so walking is a non-negotiable for me. I walk, almost every day outside. Even I'm from Chicago, and I'm out in the cold weather, doesn't matter. But I just think being outside in nature is, even if it's a neighborhood, that's not the nature I would hope for, but I'll take it. Just being outside and walking is just really, that has helped me immensely. I'm also a big fan of the sauna. We recently put a sauna in our basement, which has been awesome. And we love that. And I try to eat as clean as possible, especially, when I'm home. There are times we go out, you don't have that luxury of eating clean. But when we're home, I definitely eat clean, wild caught, you know, salmon and seafood, grass fed meat, all the good eggs, all that kind of stuff.
It's such a difference. Like, I don't know why this just popped into my brain. I think when you said something about sugar, remember there used to be that whole thing in the 80s about like fat free. Fat's the
Yeah.
problem. Like I heard someone say, "Oh my gosh, it's not low fat." And I was like, "Does anyone even think about that anymore?" Because
I know.
fat is actually the right kind of fat is good.
Yes, and yes, I think a lot of people still feel that way, that fat is
Yeah.
bad. And it's like, no, fat is good. Protein, fat, like that's what we need. The sugar is bad. So we want to avoid sugar. And again, if it makes you happy one day, have a little piece of dark chocolate and, something that's clean, that's great.
I
But
had ice cream last night. Don't judge me.
yeah, no judgment. Hey, it brought you enjoyment, and truly I feel so passionate about that. Like that's what it's meant for. It's the hidden sugars in all of our drinks and in our
Mhm.
bread, and there's hidden sugars, that ketchup, all of these different things, places where we don't even realize sugar is at. If you want to, purposely have a, cup of ice cream because you're enjoying it and you're on a walk with, a friend or whatever, you just go for it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so Tina, I would love to offer our audience, and I want to thank you for this. You offer our audience 15% off their Just Thrive probiotics. So if you're interested in learning more about this incredible product, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/Just Thrive. And Tina set up a discount code. It's TBD, Thrive by Design, TBD. And you can enter that at checkout to get 15% off your order.
Yep, and if anyone has any questions, they could go to justthrivehealth.com. We have product coaches on our team. We have a number of products. We only talked about our probiotic. That is our flagship product, and I would recommend that that's where someone would start. But if you have gut issues that are, maybe more challenging, feel free to contact one of our product coaches and learn more. But I really appreciate the opportunity, Tracy. This is so fun, and
Yes.
excited to finally do this.
I'm so excited that we did this. Amazing. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Wasn't that an awesome interview? I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. I hope that you now feel like you have the tools to become a healthier, wealthier, and happier and more energized entrepreneur and business owner, and that you have some tools to empower you to take care of your health a little bit better. So if you want to learn more about the Just Thrive probiotics or pick up a bottle and test it out for yourself, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/Just Thrive, and then enter the code TBD at checkout for 15% off your order. Thank you so much. Ciao for now.